Welcome to the AI Applied Podcast. I'm your host, Connor Grennan.
And I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Every week, we break down the latest in AI news, tools, interviews, and discuss how to apply AI into your career and life.
Jaden, so today I want to be talking about Grok. I can't say Grok enough. I love sort of like even just the sound coming out of my voice, but I'll tell you what, you've been posting some really cool stuff about Grok. You were just telling me offline that you have access to it. This is obviously Elon Musk's own ChatGPT competitor. It is super interesting. We talked about it a while ago. The fact that, well, who knows? It's sort of snarky, but if it has Twitter access, it'll be phenomenal. I just want to spin this over to you. Tell me what you've seen so far, because you've been doing some great reporting on this.
Yeah, so to be honest, I love it. I'm not gonna lie. It's kind of funny. Obviously, I don't know if this really ever replaces ChatGPT for me. That has a permanent tab open for every project I ever do, and I have my prompts and everything saved in there. So it feels like, I don't know, maybe it's like GPT 3.5. So it's like good. It's great. It does the job. This is what I absolutely love about it. Okay, two things. Number one, I like the unfiltered aspect, because sometimes it annoys me when OpenAI is like, doesn't treat me like an adult, and it's like, we can't tell you. It's like, come on, Elon Musk, when he said like how to make cocaine and it like came out with it. I know that like trigger a lot of people. A lot of people will be upset, but okay, obviously I'm not gonna make cocaine,
Yeah.
but like I can go on Google and look it up. So like, just tell me the information that I'm asking. Like, come on. I just hate the, if it's like, it knows best for me. So I don't like that from OpenAI, but whatever. I get, the whole safety stuff. I'm just probably on a different spectrum than some people with that. In any case, so I like that aspect of it. But in a practical usage that I think uncontroversially everyone will like is the real-time access to Twitter. So the thing that I did, with it yesterday when I was testing it out, I was like, hey, what are the top like 3 news stories about AI happening on X today? And it's like, oh, well, Elon Musk just is like requesting $1 billion for X.AI, and Google Gemini did X, Y, and Z, and blah blah. And it just like bullet pointed down, and then below it had links to like the news articles that it was pulling that from, and tweets that it was pulling that from. And I was like, looking it up, and it was like some of these tweets were like came out like 5 minutes earlier, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, this is exactly what I want. This is what ChatGPT does not have, is the real-time access to knowledge, and beyond just knowledge. So this is the thing that I think is really cool about it, is with OpenAI and ChatGPT, when they eventually get this kind of stuff, or when they do like browsing with Bing, what you get with browsing with Bing is like the news, right? So when our journalists are writing, but like, as everyone knows, news happens on X first. Like it happens on Twitter first. A company makes a big statement, then everyone goes and spins up their articles. They try to get them out as fast as possible. Sometimes it's the next day, sometimes it's a couple days later, right? So like, things just take time to happen. Geez, I can't remember. Is it Business Insider that everyone makes fun of as they're like a few days behind
Maybe,
Washington Post? I can't remember. There's one journal where it was like, breaking news, like Business Insider says Sam Altman is kicked out from OpenAI, and it's like 2 weeks later or whatever. Anyways, so yeah, okay, so there's that whole thing. But like, in reality, this is the fastest way to get like
100%.
an AI model with the news in real
Okay,
time.
so this is what I want to ask you. So like, this, especially sort of like an AI applied podcast, what you're telling me and what I've seen also, I don't have access to. Apparently I was just a premium, but not a premium plus. So it's driving me crazy.
All right,
But
Connor.
Jim, to me, I'm with you, right? People are always like, oh, Twitter's gross, or people is for, Twitter's for like old people that want to argue, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, Twitter's where I get my up to the second news, especially when we are on the bleeding edge of this AI stuff, which I think, you and I and a bunch of people are. But here's the thing about that. Like, my Twitter feed is really just an AI algorithm. It's just AI news. Like, there's no user guides. There's no book. People are like, what book should I read? I'm like, what book should you read? Like, it's even articles are coming out too late, right? So if you're on Twitter, you know exactly what's happening and you see use cases, right? That's what makes Twitter so valuable. But this is also my little bubble. And look, it's probably your little bubble too. I'm wondering, who will Grok be useful for otherwise? Do you know what I mean? Like, because like, AI is a really unique space in that, where you can't really get it anywhere else. Now, maybe sort of, Kardashian news or something like that. Like, but I'm just wondering, like, for people that want to use ChatGPT for the typical ways that you use ChatGPT, right? Like writing, brainstorming, blah, 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 like all that kind of stuff, is, what do you think? Is it sort of because it's probably not going to replace that? I mean, if it's at the level of 3.5, it obviously could, but I tend to use something like Perplexity, which takes a lot of different news sources and everything like that, and can do that. But I'm with you. Like, I like the fact that it's up to the second. But where are the use cases for you outside of like AI news for getting up to the second Twitter news?
Yeah. So here's the framework I like to think about this. Its potential to be successful, because of course it could be just another platform that integrated an AI feature that, it's just like, okay, well, that's kind of cool, but I still am going to go use ChatGPT for everything. Where Because it does something unique, which is up to the minute like information, and I wouldn't even say just news, but like information.
Mhm.
Um, which really is kind of news, I guess, right? But it's not just like AI. It's obviously like economic information and like, people, whistleblowers that are like, oh, hey, X, Y, and Z company did this corrupt thing and they come out with it. So like you just get like information the soonest there. But really, you're right. A big use case here is news. But I still think that there is a pathway to success here. And the way I like to think about it is like Facebook, which is not my favorite social media platform, that I generally don't use a lot unless I have a baby and like have to make an announcement so my aunt and my grandma see it. You know what I mean? Um, Facebook, I think one of their most successful like new features or things in recent times is Facebook Marketplace. And I don't know, do you ever use
I
Facebook
love
Marketplace?
Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah. Literally, it's the reason I have the Facebook app on my phone. There is no way in heck I would have the Facebook app, probably tracking everything I do on my phone, if it wasn't for Marketplace. And they did something that was really smart, which is essentially there was like OfferUp and Craigslist and Let Go, which was
Oh
acquired by
yeah,
OfferUp.
let it go. Yeah.
But like, so there's all these other platforms that like I used to use, but like eventually when Facebook kind of consolidated and put it all on there, I'm like, well, I can see people's profile pictures, so I know if they're a real human or not. Like there was like all these like just different things that kind of made it a little bit better, to the point where it is like Facebook Marketplace has nothing to do with the core value proposition of Facebook, which is a social network. But it's like that's literally like what I use Facebook for pretty much exclusively, is that. And so I think with Twitter, there might be some of the same effect where Grok lives on Twitter.
Mhm.
Like on my Twitter app, I like added Grok as like on the navigation bar. You can just do that. And I think that some people that might not like Twitter for other reasons, or, like don't like tweets or whatever. I mean, you and I are the same, where like you just fine tune your algorithm to whatever you want. So when people complain that there's like too much political stuff on Twitter or too much X, Y, and Z stuff, it's like you only see that if you like engage with it. Otherwise, whatever. It's the same thing with like TikTok. When people complain about the TikTok algorithm, I'm like, dude, you just see what you engage with. So if that's what you engage with. In any case, I think that I think that there's a viable pathway for Twitter to actually gain a lot more users, essentially having that, in the same way that like Poe, I use Poe because it was the only way to access like Anthropic's Claude for like a
Oh,
long
right.
time. You know what I mean? So it's like
Yeah.
these platforms that are the first ones to get these new AI things in. I think so. I think for Twitter, it's actually going to be a big boost. And um, to that like point, I don't know, what are your thoughts? Elon Musk, it came out some SEC filings that he is raising $1 billion,
Mhm.
1.2 billion, 1 billion,
Yeah, I
um,
heard a billion, but yeah.
for X.AI. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I'm wondering that. Like, I'm sort of just wondering what he's doing. So, first of all, I like, full disclosure, I'm reading his the autobiography or biography of him right now. So, like, I'm like,
Mm.
I feel like I'm living along with Elon Musk. So, and I've just sort of seen like, so him raising money for this actually makes sense given who he is, right? He's just like ready for the new thing. And I think he spots this, obviously, and he's like, I can do this better. But I also think what Elon always seems to do, and sort of this is just from the biography, when he was, starting PayPal and then didn't want to do, PayPal was too small. And do you know what I mean? Like, he's like, we want to like overthrow banking completely. And you and I did an episode on that like a long time ago. But I'm kind of sensing the same thing. Like, I think that because he could probably find $1 billion with his friends without any real
Yeah.
problem, right? But raising this, first of all, kind of getting it out there is sort of, that's kind of like a bigger sort of like, hey, we're all kind of like, in this. I'm just not, this is not just out of my own pockets, although maybe he really does need money. I'm sure he does. But the more important thing I think on that is thinking like when he sees this, he's like looking at this and being like, I actually am going to compete in a very different way. I'm not going to run the same race as everybody else. And look, I actually really respect Elon for that. I mean, sometimes I'm like, Elon, what are you doing? But when he like, remember how he had this moment on stage at the New York Times event, right? Sort of like a little while ago, where he says, you know, F Disney and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
I don't need you, all that kind of stuff. That's sort of like my hot take on what Elon is doing here, right? Like, yes, scraping Twitter and all that kind of stuff, hugely valuable, amazing data set. But I think Elon is doubling down on, first of all, it is who he is, in the
Mhm.
same way certain politicians are. That's just, look, like them or hate them. That's just who they are, you know?
Yeah.
And Elon is like, this is my play. It's not going to be capability. It's not going to be all the stuff that like Gemini put out around like, well, we beat them by 6 parameter nanobits or whatever, like all this.
Yeah.
Elon's like, look, this says try to make cocaine. And look, I'm maybe not going to give you the recipe, like if you really look through it, but he's like, oh yeah, like I'm really going to do this. Like, let me go. But if you want to do it, and also it's like, oh, that's a stupid question. And I'm at first, I'm like, that's kind of goofy. But then I'm thinking, like, this is the way of certainly America. And I think, it's this very populist approach. And
Yeah.
like, let alone how the country is sort of divided and, with certain politicians, all that kind of stuff. You're like, oh, I just love it. This person says it like it is. And that has huge implications for who's even the president of the United States. But what's interesting to me is that inflection is also playing this game, right? So Poe has a very, I'm sorry, not Poe, Pi has a very specific way of talking. It's very coachy,
Mhm.
it's very
Yeah.
human, all that kind of stuff, right? And look, they have raised like, a valuation of like $4 billion on
Yeah, I think
essentially
they
the
have
way it's talking.
$1 billion cash, if I'm
Yeah,
not
they have like a billion
mistaken.
cash, right?
Yeah.
I mean, from, big play. I think isn't it like
Yeah.
Reid Hoffman and Mustafa Suleiman and Bill Gates, people like that, right? So if that's $4 billion, and really Inflection can say all it wants that it's only second to ChatGPT 4 by its own metrics. I don't know if Inflection 2, sorry. I don't know if I
Mhm.
believe that. What I do believe is that they have bought into the fact that like people want to talk to this thing in a different way. And I think Elon's like, that's actually a great point. And the way I think Elon thinks people want to talk to it is like this. And I'll tell you what, that is a differentiator, like it or not.
Yeah, no, I think it's so interesting. We're getting to a point where AI, I feel like, is kind of converging. It's getting a little bit more commoditized. We're going to see this a lot more in the future, but it's like the experience is pretty similar. Like, I mean, even Gemini struggled with this, where they could kind of barely claim they were just barely better than GPT-4, but like, how come you're not way better than GPT-4, right? So they're barely better. But I think what's really interesting is it's like Google tried to do the Google tried to have the competitive advantage of like, look, we're like 2% better than GPT-4. I don't think that's going to sell as well as like Pi, which is like, we're more human. And what does more human mean? Like, it was trained a little bit different. Like, they have literally probably like some in-house like prompts that are like, act like a human, right?
Yeah.
Like, and then of course, Elon is now doing with Grok is just like, okay, well, ours is that it's like less restricted. There's less guardrails, and it'll tell you anything, and it's like irreverent, right? And so I think that's what it is, right? It's just you get these different flavors, and it's like a branding thing almost,
Yep.
and like, because the technology is not like that much different, but yeah, it's like a branding thing, and it seems to be selling, right? I mean,
Exactly.
I don't know why it reminds me of this. I don't know if if have you ever had Liquid Death, the drink? Do you
Yes.
know what
I was
it
just
is?
talking with my wife about that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
So I don't.
that's water, dude. That's water.
I know. I have no idea, but I just saw like this thread on Twitter about like how it's water, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I always thought it was like a beer or something.
Yeah,
But
that's the
anyways,
point. Yeah.
yeah. So I just think that's kind of what's going on. It's they're doing the liquid death approach, which is Grok. But then it does have some good functionality. So I think Elon, more than like Inflection's Pi, he does have a little edge. Inflection's Pi, it's going to be the same data set as everyone else, so they're more nice and human. And Anthropic, it's like we're more safe and whatever, right? But at the end of the day, I think Elon's doing what everyone else is doing, which is giving his AI its own unique flavor that everyone else is too scared to kind of touch. But he does have the data set of instant news, which no one else
Well,
has.
that's what's so interesting to me, Jane, and just to sort of like, kind of wrap that on that, like, that's what's so interesting. So Elon has also identified a target market that he has full claim to. Like, it's this market that's like, we don't want to be like, sort of, we don't want like the woke crowd. We don't want to be sort of like told what to say. And like, it's that kind of attitude. And look, that is a proven market. I mean, this is why,
Yeah,
Mr. Beast can sell, burgers and chocolate and all that kind of stuff too. People are like, that's my team. And Americans
yeah,
especially love nothing else but to know what team they're on. And if you are
yeah,
on sort of like this team and you're on Team Elon, that is a wide open lane. And I'm sort of
yeah,
like a little bit shocked that nobody else had grabbed it. But Elon, not only does he have the data set, look, the guy, I have a hard time with some, but the guy's brilliant. The guy's brilliant. and he's going to build a very capable model because this is what he does. And so, yeah, I would absolutely not rule this out. It's more than just
Yep.
capability. They're not fighting over pennies anymore. He's like, I'm going to build something different.
The last thing I want to say about this, which I'll give Elon a little bit of credit for, is with this new model. And as someone that has done startups and has raised money, and you having investors and whatnot in my past, something I think is very cool that he's done with the new X.AI, and he's raising, he raised $1 billion for it. He's giving 25% of X.AI to the
Yeah.
Twitter investors, which I
Twitter
think is
investors.
great because obviously, they put in $44 billion. It tanked. It's over 50% like written off. And I mean, everyone's like, Elon did a bad job on Twitter. Like, I think their traffic is up more. Revenue's probably down a little bit because the advertiser boycotts and stuff. But like, I think overall, it's not Elon did a bad job. It's like tech. We all know what happened. Like tech fell off a cliff and he was trying to back out of it mid deal because he was watching it happen, but they forced him through or whatever. So, but I do think that's a cool move. 25% to the past investors. At least they feel like they may have had their last investment written down quite a bit, but there's a lot of upside for a company like X.AI. Obviously, Elon went and got a bunch of like the AI legends. He helped seed all of the original employees at OpenAI, and getting like a lot of the OGs on there. So I think he's doing the same thing with X.AI. I think it's going to be successful. Like you mentioned, he's got an audience, he's got it nailed down, and I think he's got the branding on point for his people. So I think it'll be successful. I'm really curious to see like what it grows into, what the valuation grows into, if like the 25% in this can pay the return for the lost funds on the Twitter investment. But either way, it's going to be an exciting ride, and we will keep you all informed on everything happening on this play. So thanks so much for tuning in to the AI Applied podcast. It's been awesome talking about this, and make sure to rate us wherever you get your podcasts. We really do appreciate hearing from you, hearing your perspectives. Hit us up both on LinkedIn. Of course, Connor's the celebrity on LinkedIn, but I do post there as well. And we're always curious to hear what you guys have to say. So hope you guys all have a great rest of your day.